Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. This is a very important video because I think this video will help our viewers and subscribers understand fundamentally the division that exists in our country. A lot of this division, I believe, has been fed by the news media because what we choose to consume from a news standpoint impacts our view of the world. Also, here's a really interesting thing. There is a psychological phenomenon called confirmation bias. Confirmation bias basically means that we consume information that reinforces our existing beliefs, and then we essentially consume that information, and it validates who we are, what we believe. And in fact, it magnifies, it amplifies what we believe. On the other hand, if there's information that does not align with our fundamental viewpoint, we tend to ignore it. We tend to not follow those channels. We tend to unsubscribe from those channels. And we tend to say, nah, I don't believe that because that's something I don't believe in. And in some cases, being forced to reevaluate your beliefs makes you question your own sense of identity and ask yourself, was I wrong? Is there something wrong with me? Am I not right in the head? And nobody wants to feel that way. And that's why we tend to ignore the news sources we don't like. I'll give you an example. If you hear from Shepard Smith, and we're about to hear from Shepard Smith now, who used to work with Fox News and now works with CNBC. He talked about the culture at Fox News. Now, if I believe that some of our viewers will go, "Aha! Look, that's how it was at Fox News," and they'll be like, "Nah, that's not true." All these liberal media outlets, they just think about things a certain way. So again, that is something that is normal. I'm not saying that that's good or that's bad. It's just the way it is. Now, the reason I made this video is, number one, I want us to understand the news culture in our country. Now, again, this is one side of the story. This is from Shepard Smith. I mean, obviously, individuals like Sean Hannity, individuals like Tucker Carlson would disagree. But again, I want us to understand what is happening, and I want us to essentially come to our own conclusions, because at the end of the day, you have the option to consume whatever news media you want. You have a lot of choices, and I want to make sure that I respect your beliefs. But at the same time, the key with news is to follow the truth, even if the truth leads us to some unsavory places. Let's take a look at the first segment with Shepard Smith, and Shepard Smith was being interviewed by Christiana Amanpour over at CNN, and he was asked to comment on opinion journalism versus real news, because what Amanpour is pointing out is that there's more and more opinion journalism, there's more and more opinion pieces on Fox News compared with actually real news. And she asked Shepard Smith to comment on that. Now, if you look at what he says, he doesn't deny that. He simply says, hey, I was, me and a bunch of other people wanted to balance out these other views, but, I did what I could, is essentially what he said. I want you to listen carefully to what he says, because it's important to hear what he says, and it's also important to hear what he does not deny. It's very important to hear what he does not deny, because oftentimes the truth hides in the shadows, and the truth is in many occasions left unsaid, and that is actually what is happening here. It's a super interesting interview filled with explosive revelations about the culture of Fox News. Let's take a look at the first segment where Shepard Smith is asked to comment on the rise of opinion journalism versus real news. Let's roll the tape.
Shepard, we do have to talk about the elephant in the room. You were at Fox for 23 years. You carved out your own niche, and you got a lot of kudos for doing that and sticking with the hard news sphere. And Fox kind of divided itself, or at least it said it did, between almost equal hours of news and opinion. The opinion, though, is what pretty much made it. The opinion is what got it all the publicity. The opinion is what made the stars at night, whether it was O'Reilly or Hannity or now Tucker Carlson and all the rest of it. How uncomfortable were you at that time there? And you did leave. You left, I think, in 2019. How uncomfortable were you by the, I guess, impinging of the opinion, even on all of you who were trying to do the hard news?
Christian, I thought, and throughout my time there, when I got there, I was a field correspondent traveling around the country and the world reporting, and that was all I did, and nobody ever got in the way of that. And then when I became their chief news anchor and the managing editor of the program, the buck sort of stopped with me, and I made sure, to the best that I could, along with my team of editors and journalists, to get it right, and not to to fall either political line. I don't enjoy the political part of it all. I enjoy finding out about it and telling people about it, adding context and perspective. So I thought it was important that I stay there because I knew that I was grounded in that philosophy and working toward that promise. And if you feel like the Fox viewers were getting mis or disinformation, I was there to make sure that they got it straight. There were a lot of others in there who were trying to do the same thing. But I thought to just abandon it and to deprive those viewers of, it wasn't just me, I mean, there's an entire team of people getting the news to the air, to deny them that with the thought that they might replace it with opinion instead seemed a little selfish. So I stuck with it for as long as I could. And at some point I realized I've reached a point of diminishing returns and I left. But I'm proud of the work that we did there.
In the second segment, Shepard Smith says something that I think is super important. He says that begin with the truth and opine from there. In other words, if you have a strong foundation of the truth, let's say truth about election interference, for example, begin with the truth and then start to offer your opinion from there. He said many people at Fox News have propagated lies. In other words, if you begin with something that is not the truth and then you opine around that, that is the propagation of a lie. This is a pretty strong comments from someone who's been at Fox for many years. Now, I encourage you to listen to this with an open mind and come to your own conclusion. Again, it's important to hear what he says and what he does not say. Let's listen to Shepard Smith talking about the importance of beginning with the truth, having a foundation in truth, having a foundation in fact, a foundation in reality, and then offering your own analysis from there, which honestly is what I try to do on our channel. It may not be popular, but hey, I'm trying to be as honest and as truthful as I can, because I got to be honest with you, my sleep at night is super important to me. So he says many people at Fox News have propagated lies, and he also says he doesn't understand how some people can sleep at night. Pretty strong comments. Let's listen to Shepard Smith.
No, go ahead. I mean, you're going to say you're proud of the work you did there, and your
I am proud
slot
of the
now
work we did.
appears to be about. Yes, and I understand that because you did hard news. But your slot is about, apparently, according to the latest reports, the 7 p.m. slot is about to be removed from a hard news anchor and potentially delivered to another opinion. So thus upping the number of opinion hours on Fox News. And I don't know, you can be proud of what you did, but I wonder whether you also feel, now that you're at CNBC, you see how a whole different ecosystem works, whether you accept that Fox News in the opinion sphere and, in other Rupert Murdoch enterprises, perpetuated so many of the divisions, the lies, the conspiracies, the support. Look at Sean Hannity going up and, doing campaign rallies for President Trump. So blurring the lines as to be the propaganda arm of the Republican Party. I just wonder what you think about that now.
Well, I feel the same way about that now that I did then. And my goal was to just keep the blinders on and do my job to the best of my ability. And I'm always concerned when people opine all you like. But if you're going to opine, begin with the truth and opine from there. And it's that deviation from that has caused me the greatest concern. And I believe that when people begin with a false premise and lead people astray, that's injurious to society. And it's the antithesis of what we should be doing. Those of us who are so honored and grateful to have a platform of influence have to use it for the public good. And I slept very well. I don't know how some people sleep at night, because I know that there are a lot of people who have propagated the lies and have pushed them forward over and over again, who are smart enough and educated enough to know better. And I hope that at some point, those who have done us harm as a nation, and I might even add as a world, will look around and realize what they've done. But I'm not holding my breath.
Now, in the third segment, which is also super important, he was asked about what's the solution? What do consumers do? And he fundamentally said, hey, I'm not exactly sure, but I think consumers have to decide what news media diet they consume. So it's up to you to decide what you want to consume. You can watch my channel. You can just go watch any other channel. Hey, listen, I'm happy you're on my channel. I want to be clear about that. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is this: what we choose to consume, who we choose to listen to is important. We should not listen to things that are fundamentally untrue. And what is true and what is not true is very hard to decipher, very hard to decipher. And I have to be honest with you, when I watch CNN, it's always one side of the story. When I watch Fox News, it's always the other side of the story. So essentially, the news diet that I consume is I have CNN and Fox playing in the background. I monitor several different news outlets online, and I have my Twitter feed. So I consume news from a variety of different sources, and I try to be the filter, the messenger for our viewers and subscribers on the Ignition Time channel. So you don't have to go through all the trouble, the time, and the agony to do all of that yourself. I'm the nerd that basically does it for you and provides you all the news all the time for free on our channel, and that will never change. So, but again, let's listen to Shepard Smith, who says consumers of news have to be better at news consumption. Let's roll the tape.
Well, you speak very powerfully now. And of course, last week, the former Fox executive, of course, as you know, and son of Rupert Murdoch, James Murdoch, told the FT, he said, the sacking of the Capitol is proof positive that what we thought was dangerous is indeed very, very much so. Those outlets that propagate lies to their audience have unleashed insidious and uncontrollable forces that will be with us for years. I mean, he says those outlets. He could have said our outlets. It's not such a subtle message, and we know where his politics lie at the moment, which is to try to defend, the climate, try to, do things that, his family is not known for. In fact, the opposite. I wonder what you made of James Murdoch and his wife, indeed, Catherine, coming out and making that statement.
Well, James is separated from the family and separated from the business. That happened rather famously when Disney bought up a large portion of their company. But I must say, Chris John, I'm not a very good critic, and I'm really much better at the finding out about it and telling people about it than I am pointing my finger in shame at them. I think we as consumers of news, myself included, have to be better at it. Personally, if I read a byline or I watch a program where the author or the speaker has repeatedly misinformed me, led me astray, or lied to my face, I shut that source off. If a program that I watch, CNN Domestic, if I watch it each night and Don Lemon starts going off on tangents about things that are demonstrably false, I'll stop watching him. And I won't let that be part of my news diet every day. And we as consumers of the news have to be better at it, because there's a lot of crap out there. And if you're going to get into a wormhole of fulfilling your own desires about how the world should be, you're not helping anybody, least of all yourself.
Now, the next segment gets a lot more intense. We are about to see some harsh criticism of the owners of the Fox News network, the Murdochs. And this is some harsh criticism from Margaret Sullivan at the Washington Post. And she basically said, hey, the Murdochs are to blame because ultimately the culture comes from the top. So let's hear what Shepard Smith had to say about this. And he said, if the opinion is based on fact, you are certainly entitled to it. Which means he's indirectly implying that if the opinion is not based on fact, and what he's implying is that a lot of the things that are said on Fox News, what he is saying, are not based on fact. And again, very, very, very strong criticism from Margaret Sullivan. See, folks, let's talk about the election for a second. If you believe that there were some shenanigans with the election, okay, I respect that. But then what do you have to say about the fact that more than 60 court cases were thrown out for lack of evidence or for insufficient evidence, and there was no proof of widespread election shenanigans? What do you have to say to that? Even though many of those judges were Trump appointees. So then again, now it becomes a question of, are we going to believe in fact or are we not going to believe in fact? And that's a decision you have to make. Again, for me, this is not about the right or the wrong. For me, this is about our personal choices and the phenomenon of confirmation bias, which reinforces our existing beliefs. Again, I believe these are very explosive comments from Shepard Smith, again, who says if the opinion is based on fact, you are certainly entitled to it. And some very strong criticism, very harsh criticism from Margaret Sullivan over at the Washington Post. Let's roll the tape.
Well, I don't think Don Lemon is, engaged in lies, but I can see that you probably have a different view of the politics. Exactly.
No. I think Don is great. I use Don because he's a friend. I'm just saying anybody who's sitting on the air and giving their opinion, But, if the opinion is based in fact, you're certainly entitled to it. And I don't have any problem. I have friends at MSNBC and CNN and, yes, friends at Fox. They can opine all they want. But when they start lying to us, they're off my diet. And their managers shouldn't let them be there. They shouldn't, but they do.
And frankly, that's very important what you say, because as you say, it doesn't just affect a business. It's not a pageant show. It actually affects the world, and people who actually for their as their job are critics like Margaret Sullivan at the Washington Post, who is the media writer and has been an ombudsman in the past. I had her on the show the other day, and she really went after, and rightly so, the names that I have mentioned: Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham. But she also went after the head, the head of this enterprise. Just listen to what she said.
Also call out the names of Rupert Murdoch and Lachlan Murdoch and Suzanne Scott, who is in charge of Fox News. And, these are people who have fomented this kind of outrage that has and allowed very misleading and very toxic kind of information to circulate. And they've done so under a very misleading banner. As you may recall, when Fox was first on the air, the idea was, and the motto or the slogan was, fair and balanced. Well, that has been misleading from the start. And it's been a very destructive force in our society, and it has radicalized many people, maybe not to the point where they're going to go to the Capitol and participate in a riot, but certainly in undermining the truth.
In the final segment, Shepard Smith basically says, hey, consumers can decide what they want. They have their own choice. And he says, and in the end, he says, I have not been watching Fox News and I don't plan to. This is from someone who's worked at Fox News for a long, long, long time. Pretty incredible. Let's roll the tape and listen to this final segment with Shepard Smith.
So, Shepard, I want to know what you make of that commentary, because many obviously agree with her. But furthermore, what do you think about the media in the post-Trump age, particularly the right-wing, the conservative media? Because Fox is losing viewers after this election, and it did call the election. It was the first to actually call Arizona and really, really angered Trump over that. So it performed its duty there accurately. But now they are hemorrhaging viewers, apparently, to even farther right, like Newsmax and ONN and the rest. Where do you think this is headed in a country which is divided over what is real and what is truthful?
I think it depends on what consumers want. If a consumer looks at a channel and says, oh, that person's lied to me over and over, that's been proved, but I'm going to stay right here, well, we have one thing. But you just said that some people have been going away. I don't know what the future of that is. But to say that, well, they're not going to stay with their patterns would be surprising, because usually the one you're promoting, you're cheerleading, and then when it changes over to the other side, you begin a fight. So traditionally, either a conservative or liberal channel, when there are guys in office, there are guy or gal is in office, you're cheerleading, and then otherwise you're fighting. My guess is they'll turn to fighting, but I tell you, I haven't been watching, and I don't plan to.
That's it, everybody. Let me know what you thought of this explosive interview between Christiane Amanpour and Shepard Smith, who previously used to work at Fox News and now works at CNBC. I believe it's more important to highlight not just what Shepard Smith said, because I thought what he said was fairly diplomatic. I thought he was, fairly chill about the whole thing. But I think what's more important, what's more explosive, is what he did not say and what he did not challenge and what he did not rebuke and push back on when Christiane was asking these probing questions, which is what she's known for. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. You'll get a link to the entire interview in the description section below. Please comment below and let me know what you think of the phenomenon of confirmation bias. And let me say one thing. I don't believe that just Fox News is to blame. I believe CNN also is to blame. I believe that Twitter, Facebook propagate things that tend to make us more agitated. So this isn't really this isn't a focus of one news station. Everybody's at fault, because all these news stations make more money when we watch longer. They make more money when we click and when we read longer. They make more money the longer we are on their platforms. And that is the truth. And that is what they won't tell you. No one's going to tell you something that is just boring, easy, because it makes more sense to propagate something that is controversial and uneasy, which is why Trump had been and will continue to be good for business, not just for Fox, but also for CNN and everybody else. Which again goes back to the question, why is it that we want controversial stuff? And why is it that certain news stations want to propagate division even when it is based on alternative realities? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. If you don't know anything about me, check out some information about me. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. I am a proud patriot. I'm a proud citizen of this beautiful country. For me, it's not about the red or the blue, it's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm American. I encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Please click subscribe, please enable notifications, and please ignite that like button, because the name of our channel is Ignition Time. We release videos every day and we release important content about the country, about the economy, and about your money. You can also follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. And you can also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. In fact, here's my Twitter feed. I encourage you to follow me on Twitter because you'll learn in real time what I'm reading. I retweet, and you'll be able to essentially read and follow news stories side by side with me. So I encourage you to follow me on Twitter. Now, I encourage you to also comment below, because one of the incredible things about our community is that our community is growing, it's bipartisan, it's respectful. So please comment below. You might make some new friends. Also, please share this video with just 2 friends or family members, just 2 friends or family members. I'd really appreciate that. We always include a link in the description section below to all our resources, multiple links at times, so you can always follow those news stories on your own. Once again, please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time.